Next test is a progressive balance test. So we're going to start with an easy foot position and test him with 30 seconds with his eyes open, and then same foot position, 30 seconds eyes closed, and then move on to the next ones. If he can stay 30 seconds eyes open, most likely we'll progress to the next test. If he's only at like 4 or 5 seconds, then we might not go to the next test and we might just stop it there. It's a good idea to have them be standing near a stable surface like a counter, and also something where he can look out, usually of a window. We wouldn't want him standing here and looking at the count, even though there is a counter here. We don't want him just looking at something too close, because he will have a much harder time kind of finding his center and his balance. So if his visual cue and that point of stability that he's looking at is farther away from him, the better. His brain will be able to notice if they're swaying or not, because you can see the sway past the window. So the first foot position is Romberg, which is feet together. And so John, let's put your feet together and touching, and look down at your toes and make sure your toes are in line as well. Yep. So his feet are together, his stomach is raised, he's reaching up through the crown of his head, trying to stay tall, and then arms over the chest. And I start counting as soon as the arms go over the chest. And I'm watching for sway, looking at his face and body language. Is he looking very fearful as this is going on? Some things to keep in mind are his ankles moving? It's a good idea if his ankles are moving, because then he's able to feel the ground and feel the balance. If there is no movement, that means he's usually not able to feel it, and he might end up falling. Okay, so that was 30 seconds. Okay, good. Now, we're gonna try this eyes closed. And so always be close by, maybe some fingertips on the gate belt, but let them know that they're safe. Arms over your chest first, and find your balance, and then close your eyes. If they can't hold their balance with their eyes closed without touching anything, sometimes I allow the hands to be out, and maybe some slight verbal cues from or tactile feedback from the table. But ideally he's gonna try and hover his hands. This makes him more secure, so we're gonna do it this way. Okay. Okay, so I counted 21 seconds full with his eyes closed. He opened his eyes once in the beginning, and I restarted counting in my head, and then he opened his eyes a little bit towards the end, and I made a note of that time, and then kept kind of counting. Sometimes they open their eyes quickly and then they'll close it. Sometimes they cheat and try and open one eye and they won't tell you. I tend to be a very good counter, and so I trust my counting abilities, but it's a good idea to have your phone or a stopwatch nearby so that you can record it accurately, because as soon as they open their eyes, that's the end of the test. Okay, the next test is half tandem. So one foot halfway behind the other, feet touching. I try and cue like the ball of one foot is in the arch of the other foot. Arms over your chest and eyes open. Okay, good. Okay, hit play. Sorry? Okay, so he just finished on one side. I might now, depending on the individual, either now test the same side feet with eyes closed, or we'll switch feet. Whichever foot is in the back, that's the leg that we're testing. So his right leg is in the back, and so we're testing his right side. And so when we go and record it in the log, we'd record this score next to the letter R for right side of his body. Whichever leg is in the back does more of the balance. Okay, John, switch legs. Also, there's a chair nearby. If he does need to sit, he can sit down and the chair, which I put right behind him. Okay, eyes open. Switch feet now.
Oh.
And now we'll do this eyes closed. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, switch feet. Sorry, go ahead. Okay, good. You can have a seat. What we learned from this test, we can then create a program to address it. And so, especially on this next one, when we see which is going to be full tandem, we have to look at their body of where are they losing their balance? Are they losing it from their core, and is their upper body kind of moving all over the place? Are their hips going all over the place? Are their ankles moving too much? Is one leg, could they stand for 30 seconds with the right leg in the back, but only 5 seconds with the left leg in the back? And so we have to take that information and say, okay, left leg was in the back, and you only stood for 5 seconds, so it's that left side that's a little bit weaker, so focus on stability of that left hip, most likely. And if both of the times he's like losing balance in his core, then we say, okay, we need some core stability. So if we do exercises to strengthen and to stabilize your core, then we come back a month later and retest. Ideally, he performed better on that test because we're addressing the reasons why he's losing his balance, not just that he is losing balance. So this is a very important test. There's a lot of critical thinking that involves reading the results of the test and then also creating the program to make the test get better. I would not just, if he's losing his balance on full tandem, which is heel to toe, I wouldn't just have him practice heel to toe constantly. I would be like, okay, we would need to focus on some hip stability, core stability, and then maybe just standing in this position from time to time. But it's a more holistic view of how do you make this score increase or improve. All right, right leg in the back. And you can scoot your right foot over a little bit towards the right. Yeah. Okay. Can you put the arms over your chest?
No.
Okay, that was good. So that's 23 seconds. I noticed his feet were moving a lot, which was fine. I didn't really notice him losing balance from his core or his hips. So that would just mean, okay, let's just focus on strengthening those heels and those ankles a little bit. Okay, now switch legs. Okay, move this left leg a little farther back. More. Pick it up. Yep. Okay. Arms up. So you can also put a screen in front of them so that they can see the amount of seconds that they're doing. have a metronome so they can count the beats. Okay, so what I noticed on that side, again, is a little bit more wobbly in the ankles. His hips and core seem to be fine. And we have been doing a little bit more core and hip work. And we stopped doing some like ankle exercises. But yeah, so it looks pretty good. Eyes open. We have to do this test again. Also, same left in the back, right in the back, with his eyes closed. And so we'll see what that looks like. In the back. Yep, like that. Just like that. And then arms over your chest or hovering. Once you get your balance, then close your eyes. Okay, pause. So he's only able to stand like 1 or 2 seconds with his eyes closed. And I'm noticing, I'm looking at his eyes, but with my periphery, I'm looking at his body, and he's just immediately starting to lean. So his feet are not pushing into the ground to hold him up. It wasn't necessarily his hip was falling out. It was more so he's not putting enough weight on the right side of both feet to keep him upright. So again, I would assume that this is an ankle and a weight shifting between both sides, but this is more of an ankle area to address rather than a hip area to address, because his hips weren't kind of falling all over the place. Okay, switch feet. Okay, that's good. So eyes open first. Once you feel that balance, then close your eyes. Okay, good. You can sit down.